Maybe some
Osborne.
people do that. Um, all right. I think we are live. Let me just double check and we will get started here. Yeah, I think we are. Okay, let me make sure that we are on camera. All right. Hey guys, what's up? We're live. I'm here. My name is Jeannette, also known as Misfit Vegan. I'm here with the beautiful and amazing Anne Osborne. Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. And we're here because, well, Anne Osborne, she's been on a fruitarian diet for 34 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a long time. I mean, yeah, that's more than double what I've been doing. And, I learned a lot from you, and I want to say thank you so much for everything. I love your book, Path to Paradise, right? The Path to Paradise. And
Yes.
I want to start by saying, since today is Thanksgiving, it's a big holiday here in America and is in Australia. I want to know, when is the last time you ate a, for lack of a better word, dead animal's body part?
I became vegetarian when I was 19. So
Wow.
that would be 40 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so you went vegetarian
I went
40 years
vegetarian
ago.
first. I went vegetarian when I was 20, and then I went vegan. No, when I vegetarian when I was 19, vegan when I was 20, and then fruitarian when I was 24. It was a progression. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now, can you please tell us what led you to adopting a fruitarian lifestyle?
Yeah, well, I was vegetarian and vegan purely for ethical reasons. And it was no health issues. I was like 19 and then 20 when I became vegan. And I thought I had pretty good health, had no serious health issues. But the very day after I gave up all animal products, so the very day after I became vegan, I was at university in the UK, in Canterbury, and the campus was up the top of a hill, and my student digs were at the bottom of the hill. And every day I'd climb up the hill to go to uni, and every single day I'd be tight in my chest and wheezy when I got to the top of the hill. But the very next day, after I'd given up animal products, I was at the top of the hill and it was like a revelation. I was like, I'm not out of breath. I'm not wheezy. I'm not tight in my chest. And I've never been since. And I thought, wow, there's a connection between what we put in our bodies and how we feel and our health. And I'd never even considered that because the vegetarian was purely for ethical reasons. And so from that moment on, I was very interested in how what we eat affects our health. And so I tried different types of vegan diet. Like I'll always be vegan ethically. Tried an Ann Wigmore raw diet that was a lot of sprouts and wheatgrass. And I tried a macrobiotic vegan diet, which was a lot of cooked food, but it was organic and it was non-processed. It was just home cooked from scratch. And I felt good on all of them, but not that good that I stuck with any one of these different vegan diets for more than about 18 months. And then I'd finished university, I was back in my hometown of Leicester, and we had an animal rights group. And every week we'd, have a meeting and sometimes we'd invite a speaker. So one week we invited a fruitarian speaker, and his name was David Shelley. And he was just a local Leicester lad because Leicester was my hometown. And he was amazing. He had a beautiful tan. He was very fit and healthy. He biked everywhere and he had just wonderful energy. And there was a whole
Mm.
group of us. We were all ethical vegans, and we thought we want some of what he's got. And, whatever he was doing was working really well for him. He'd also written a book, which I read. And we all decided, there was about six of us, and we all decided we want to try this fruitarian diet. So my friends jumped straight on the fruitarian diet, but I was in the early stages of my first pregnancy. So I thought, I don't, even though I'd been gradually refining my diet and cutting out most processed foods, I still thought I don't want to go straight onto fruit because it might cause some detox, which might not be good for the developing baby. So I did a gradual transition diet of about a year. And then since then, I've been on a fruitarian diet and I've not looked back. I've stuck with the diet and it's stuck with me. And it's just, I can't imagine eating anything else that would come close to how it feels to be on a fruitarian diet.
Wow, wow. Now, can you tell me, out of those like six friends, Is anybody else still fruitarian?
Um, One person is, but yeah, the rest of them,
Is that
they,
you? Is that one person you? Or no, someone else?
no, one other
Okay.
person, but they still eat. They're still vegan. They're all still ethically vegan, but yeah, they haven't stuck with it as long as me. But I appreciate that, at least people are vegan, they're still vegan. For me, I'll always be vegan. Fruitarian diet is working wonderfully well for me. It has done for 34 years. So I don't look to change it, but I would never ever go back to eating animals or animal products. For me, that's the crucial thing, is to be vegan.
Okay, may I ask, please, why will you never go back to eating animals? Why are you vegan?
I'm vegan purely for ethical reasons. Because if you go walking out in the countryside and you see a beautiful cow or a sheep in the field, for me, how could I look that creature in the eye and think, I'm eating your brothers or sisters? To me, it really is repulsive now, the thought of eating animal flesh and animal products as well. There's so much cruelty involved. And what triggered me, I knew when I was vegetarian that there was a lot of cruelty in the dairy industry. And I knew really that I should move on to be vegan. But I love my chocolate, I love my cheese. And in those days, there wasn't, this was like, 35, 30, 37 years ago, something like that. And there wasn't like nice vegan chocolate like there is now. And there wasn't nice vegan cheese. The chocolate was very chalky and the cheese tasted like perfumed erasers. It was just horrible. You tried them and that was like yuck. But I had this, and I think probably I had some kind of allergy to dairy products because I was very, almost addicted to them. And then I went as part of an animal rights group. We went to go to a lairage. And a lairage is a place where they take the baby calves once they've been separated from the mother. And it was just so sad. These little baby calves were just crying for their mothers. And I just thought, I can't carry on eating dairy products, however much I might like them. It's not worth the price and the cost to these beautiful sentient creatures. And so from that moment on, me and my friend, we like, that's it. And we just gave up all animal products overnight. And yeah, for me, we have such abundance in this world. We have an abundance of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. And why would I eat animals when I can get all my nutritional needs met from fruit? And fruit to me is it's quite a sort of least harmful diet, especially if you're eating your own fruit from your garden or you're eating organic local fruit. There is some harm, obviously, in transportation. Animals are killed on the road. And if you use pesticides, animals are killed. But for me, it's the least, and as a vegan, you're aiming to stop as much animal suffering as you can, and you can't be perfect. You do what you can. And so for me, a fruit diet is very ethical diet because you're not killing the plants, you're not killing any animals, or you're not directly killing any animals. So yeah, for me, ethically, I'll always be vegan because it just go against my morals to eat animals or animal products.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, Anne. I really appreciate you standing up for the animals and speaking up for the voiceless and just saying, like, how can I look at a cow knowing that I ate his brother or sister or
Mm.
mom or dad? I so agree. I just can't be a hypocrite in this world. I love animals. I don't want to eat them. So thank you so much. We have a question. Thank you, Nick, for being here. Nick said, did you solve your dental issues? I think you had some dental issues before. Did you find a solution? Or I
Yeah,
don't know what he's talking about.
I think when I started out on a fruit diet, I wasn't so up on dental hygiene because I thought
Same,
eating fruit, I don't need to brush as often. And
same.
I realized dental hygiene is really, really important. So I brush my teeth 4 or 5 times a day. I use a non-fluoridated toothpaste, which I find very good, which is Theodent. I also use Oral MD, which is, I think it's almond oil with spearmint and peppermint in, and that kills the harmful bacteria in your mouth, but doesn't kill the good bacteria that you need. And I use that as a mouthwash. Usually once, sometimes twice a day, and also floss every day. So when I'm changed and became more thorough with my dental hygiene, yeah, my dental health has definitely improved. But the beginning, I had some issues because also I was eating a lot more at the beginning. I needed to eat more to maintain my weight, so I was constantly eating fruits and yeah, and I did have a few like fillings and cavities, but since I've upped my dental hygiene, yeah, my tooth health has been, good.
I am assuming, yeah, you eat a lot less now than you ate in the beginning. Could you give us a daily menu, like an average day for you of what you eat?
Yeah, so I'll go for a run in the morning, and when I get back, I'll usually have orange juice, fresh squeezed orange juice. Not every day, but I really love my fresh squeezed orange juice. So I might have one or two glasses. And then I'll usually do some work, go out in the garden, do some gardening. And then, sort of later on in the morning, I'll have whatever is seasonal and appealing to me. So it might be pineapple. At the moment, Australian mango season is just starting and getting really good. So I bought a box of mangoes the other day. So I'll probably have a meal of mangoes or chocolate sapote season. We've got a lot in the garden. That's just finished. So
Mm.
when that was on, I'd have maybe chocolate sapotes, papaya. I eat a lot of papaya. It's very good in far north Queensland, the local papaya. And then later on, I'll have another meal. It might be, like juicy fruit again. Sometimes it might be avocados. I might have one or two avocados, or I might have more juicy fruit. And then sort of about 2 o'clock, I usually finish eating, so I'll have
Mm.
another meal. And if I haven't had avocados earlier, I might have a couple of avocados. Otherwise, I might have watermelon or melon or just whatever's seasonal and is, good quality. So I very much eat seasonally and try and eat local as much as possible. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, wow. Do you, because I know you're growing your own fruit, which is amazing. Do you drink water currently?
I do at the moment because it's summer. It's very hot. It's been up to, now I don't know Fahrenheit, so I'll have to say in centigrade. It's about like get up to 36 centigrade, which is probably getting on for nearly 100. It's probably in the 90s Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And if I'm working in the garden, if I'm mowing, because I have a push mower, which I mow with, which is really good exercise, or moving hoses about to do the watering, I will drink quite a lot of water. I could maybe drink a litre and a half, maybe even 2 litres a day if I'm doing a lot of physical work and it's hot and humid. But then in the winter, I cannot drink water for, 2 or 3 weeks sometimes if it's cooler and if I'm having a lot of orange juice, because oranges are in season in the winter. So I usually have quite a lot of citrus juice in the winter. So yeah, I don't hold with you should never drink water, and I don't hold with you have to have 8 glasses a day. I think if we're in good health, our thirst reflex should be working well. And they say as you get older, your thirst reflex sort of falls away. So a lot of older people have to be reminded to drink. But I think if you're healthy, there's no reason why your thirst reflex should be impaired because it's a very important part of survival. So I really go by my thirst reflex. And in the summer, I'll drink and drink water because I need it, because I'm sweating, it's hot. But then in the winter, yeah, I can go for weeks and not actually drink any water.
Okay, I have a question about the greens. So, this is just your personal opinion, because I'm really
Mm.
interested in your opinion. Um, some people, they really do think that humans need to have green leafy vegetables, to be healthy. And I'm curious your opinion. Do you think that we need humans as a species to eat greens? Do you think fruit has everything we need, which I think you did say?
Yeah, I think personally, if you crave greens, if you're attracted to greens, you probably need them. Since I
I like
started,
that.
I've never been attracted to greens. I'd go into a greengrocer's, I'd hone in on the fruit, wow, and I'd see the fruit. I wouldn't even see the greens. I wouldn't notice them. They wouldn't be on my radar. And when we started out, the six of us, we formed an organic buying group, which was wonderful. So we were sourcing
Mm.
beautiful quality organic fruit from all over the world. The best apricots, these beautiful Italian apricots, and they were the best I'd ever had. And beautiful organic golden delicious apples, again, the best I'd ever had. Some wonderful Egyptian mangoes. And we were eating mono meals, and the quality was so good that I think my nutritional needs were being met by the fruit diet alone. So that start for me was useful, having the community of six of us doing the diet from the social point of view.
Yeah.
But from the health point of view, being able to access this really good quality fruit in the UK was a good solid foundation. And I think ever since then, I've made it a priority to source good quality, organic, biodynamic, forage for fruit. And that's been so important to me. So I think if you're accessing really good quality fruit, you might not need greens, but we all have different needs. We've all got past health histories. Some people have had more problems in the past. They may need more greens, but I tend to think of people will say greens always have more minerals in than fruit, but I think not necessarily. For example, if you bought a lettuce that had been hydroponically grown, it had been in the refrigerator in the store for like 2 or 3 days. Now, is that going to have more minerals in than a Mamie sapote grown organically on an old tree that's got roots deep in the soil, getting the nutrition out of the soil? That's fallen off and is perfectly sun warmed, and you go up and you pick and eat that Mamie sapote, which would have the most nutrition? To me, the Mamie sapote. So I don't think it's a clear line that greens are always more nutritious, but they can be. And if you can't access good quality fruit, and if you crave greens, I think, yeah, you probably need them, because I think when we crave something in its mono state and in its raw, unprocessed state, that's very different from saying, oh, I crave a donut or I crave some candy. I think that's more of a sort of, there's something in us that is craving it, but it's not
Addiction.
for our health. Yeah, yeah, an addiction
Yes.
through the bacteria in our gut or through emotional addiction.
Yeah.
But when we're craving, say if you really crave apples or you really crave lettuce, then I think there's probably something in that you need. And I remember one time somebody had given me a mushroom and said, this is an edible, I think it was a portobello mushroom or something. And yeah, it's fine to eat. And I'm normally very, very careful about mushrooms. People have offered me them and I'll say, no, no, I don't want that mushroom. I don't know where it's come from. But in this case, I trusted the person and I ate this mushroom, and it wasn't what it was. It was a vomiter mushroom. So I vomited. It was horrible. I hate being sick. I vomited, I think, about 40 times in 4 hours. And the next day, once I'd finished vomiting, I was fine. But the next day, I was out in the garden looking for purslane. I had a real craving for purslane. And I thought, there's something in this purslane that my body needs because I've had this horrible poisonous mushroom inside me. So, yeah, I went with it. I didn't think, oh, I shouldn't be eating greens. When I had this craving for purslane, I just went outside and foraged it. So, yeah, I think listen to your body when it's craving healthy foods, not when it's craving unhealthy processed foods, because there's probably something in those foods that you need.
I'm not eating mushrooms ever again. I don't like mushrooms. Like, yeah, why don't you eat mushrooms?
I don't eat them very often. I sometimes do,
Yeah.
but normally it's again, I don't see them. If I'm in the store, I see the fruit. That's what I
Uh-huh.
do. Hone in and get the fruit.
Do you
Yeah.
think that someone can be healthy eating supermarket fruit and having no locally grown ripe, like you were saying about the mamey, perfectly
Yeah.
ripening,
Yeah.
falling off the tree, you're eating it under the tree? Do you think it's possible? Do you know anyone that's eating a fruitarian diet from supermarket fruit?
Not solely from supermarket fruit. And I think when you get to know fruit, you can pick the best melon off the shelf and the best mango off the pile. And I think the more you eat fruit, your
Mm,
fruit picking skills improve. So if you have to eat supermarket fruit for a period in time, you will go into that supermarket and you will be able to pick the best fruit in that supermarket. And often supermarkets have organic, and sometimes the organic is not so good, but sometimes you can get decent organic fruit in supermarkets. Ideally, I think we should be getting perfectly ripe fruit locally, but that's not always possible. So we have to do what we can. I think if your main source of fruit is a supermarket, try and supplement maybe by growing some of your own. Looking at local people who are growing fruit, ask them if you can buy some of their fruit or be part of a community garden. There are many community gardens in America, in Australia, in parts of Europe, in the UK. There are things called allotments. And I had one when I was in the UK. You maybe get a quarter of an acre of land and you rent it for a very small sum, either privately or from a local council, and you can grow your fruits and veggies. So I think if you have to
Wow.
eat mostly supermarket fruit, try and supplement it with some foraging, but make sure you know what you're doing because some fruits aren't edible for humans. Maybe grow some of your own, join a community garden, find a friend who's got a big garden, and maybe you can help them do their gardening. There was a time in my life when I was at college. I was a single parent. I was at college full time. And I was doing some part-time work as well. So I didn't have much time. So a lot of my fruit then and for my son was supermarket stuff, but I still supplemented from some markets and other places. So I think ideally get the best fruit you can, but don't beat yourself up if the majority of your fruit comes from a supermarket. Just, hone your skills at fruit picking. And then you will pick the best. Even though you've got maybe a limited choice, you will still be able to pick the best out of that limited choice. Yeah.
Thank you, that was very helpful. If you had to eat supermarket fruit, you couldn't eat any freshly grown, ripe mamey sapote,
Yeah.
like your own from your own trees. You didn't have access to locally grown fruit. Do you think you could be healthy eating fruitarian, or would you eat greens, nuts, seeds, supplement? What would you do personally?
I think I would see how it went and see how I
Okay.
feel because I know what my level of health is. I know what I normally can do, what my energy's like, what my nails are like, what my hair's like. And I would also go to the supermarkets that sold some organic produce and I would just try and find the
Mm,
best that I could. But I would go, but if I started to feel that I was lacking something, because whatever diet you're on, you need to get, your micronutrient needs met.
mm.
And so if I wasn't feeling healthy, if I noticed hair loss or my wounds weren't healing or I didn't have the energy, then possibly I would look to supplement with greens. But I would just see how it went. And I would also I think always try to grow some fruit, even if it was just tomatoes inside, even if I didn't have a garden, but just
Yeah.
grow something. I think once you start growing things, you get the itch for it, and you just love growing stuff. I'd find it very difficult if I didn't have a garden. I think even if I had an apartment with no garden, I would just grow something. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna get back to it. I tried and then I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna get back to it because you're right. It's very easy to grow. You can grow herbs,
Mm.
tomatoes, tomatoes. Okay, so now I want to ask you about supplements. I want to ask you, well, do you believe in blood tests? Let's start there.
I don't often get blood tests. So I don't feel I think blood tests are maybe can be useful in some situations, but they're numbers on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
For me, what's more indicative of my health is how my hair is, how my skin is, how my teeth is. Do my wounds heal well? Do I bruise easily? Before I was raw, I bruised so easily. I would always have bruises up and down my shins and on my arms. And now I really have to hit something hard to bruise. So, how are you feeling? What's your energy like? How do you feel first thing in the morning when you wake up? Do you bounce out of bed or do you feel hungover? Because you can feel hungover on certain types of food, it's not just alcohol. And I think for me, that is more important than numbers on a piece of paper. I think it can be useful in some situations. And if you're worried about vitamin D or B12, but I think how you feel, how your body is operating, for me is more important than just getting a blood test.
Yeah, I mean, you said bruises. Wow, I never thought about that, but Anne, me too. I used to bruise so easily, and now I never get bruises. Is that indicative of your health?
Yes, it is because it's your capillary health. So the better and stronger your capillaries, the less likely you are to bruise. And fruit is full of like bioflavonoids, which give you good, healthy capillaries. So if you're bruising easily, eat more citrus fruit because citrus fruit is very good for bioflavonoids, and even eat a bit of the pith, the white pith, because that's particularly high in bioflavonoids. So yes, bruising, if you bruise easily, it's an indication that your capillary strength is not optimal. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Do you currently take any supplements?
Right at the minute, I'm not taking anything, but recently I've been taking B12. Now, I've been on this diet for 34 years, and
Yes.
for that time, I've probably taken, if you add it all together, the time that I've taken B12 has probably been 3 to 4 years. I've never exhibited any B12 deficiency symptoms, and if I did, I would obviously take B12. But recently, when a friend of mine passed away who was on a fruitarian diet, and I know this person had low B12, I was like, oh, maybe it's B12. And I wasn't sure. I think often if an early death happens, it's not one particular thing, it's a series of things coming together that causes, someone to pass away. And I started taking B12. I haven't taken it for a few weeks now, but I took it maybe for about 6 weeks just because I was just really shocked by this person passing. And I was thinking, they're on a similar diet to me. And, possibly was it because they were
Oh,
low in
you're
B12?
cutting off a little bit for me. Wait, I cannot hear you or see you.
Okay.
Hold
I
on.
was
Is it
just
me,
checking that.
guys?
It
Is
might be
it
my
me or
Ethernet.
Anne? Because I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi. Hold on. Um, don't say anything because I don't want to miss anything you say, Anne. Let's see, guys. Tell me in the comments, and I'll get to your questions. I promise. I see all the questions. Is Anne lagging? Okay, Anne. I'm pretty sure that's me.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I'm so sorry. I don't know why it just kicked me off. I
Yeah.
never. Oh, we're live again. Wait,
Hey.
we're just return. How is this possible? Wait, I'm just trying to make sure because I didn't even click live. I didn't know that was possible to come back live like this. I just want to make sure. Can somebody tell me below if we are live still? And then I will, yeah, it says stop live stream, so I guess I'm still live. Okay. I want to make sure though. Um, that's never happened to me before. Ugh, I'm so sorry, Anne.
No, it's
Okay,
okay. I thought it was me.
yeah, we are continuing the live. Okay. All
Good.
right. Okay, so I am so sorry, guys. That's me. Now, the last thing I heard was that you were okay. So a close friend of yours died, and then
Mm.
you started taking B12, but you haven't taken it at, for the last few weeks. I want
Yeah.
to know. Oh, yeah, sorry. So continue.
Yeah. When I supplemented B12, it's been when I was pregnant or in the early months of breastfeeding. Um, because I felt like I'm responsible for another life. And if my B12's low and it's just
Okay,
me,
wait. I cannot hear you. I don't.
oh,
I'm so sorry, Anne. Is it
am
me? Is it me again?
I don't know.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Yeah, right, that's good. So
So
yeah,
sorry.
I've supplemented B12 when I've been pregnant and breastfeeding,
Okay.
because I'm responsible for another life. When it's just me, if I'm low B12, something happens, it's me. But I felt, and it'd be a miracle if I got pregnant again at my age. But if I did, I would supplement B12 being pregnant and also in the early months of breastfeeding. But I've never noticed a difference taking B12. I've known people that have been on the diet for maybe a year and a half, and got B12 deficiency symptoms. And when they took B12, the deficiency symptoms stopped. Now, that might be, I don't know if that's a placebo effect, I
Right.
don't know, but I do know that's what happened. And I also know people that have been on this diet and lifestyle for 20, 30 years, don't supplement, and haven't had any B12 deficiency symptoms. So I feel I don't
Nice.
know the whole truth about B12. I think it's something that I'm, open to learning more about. And when my friend passed, who had low B12, um, I did supplement just because I was shocked and worried and thought, how can this be that somebody's on a fruitarian diet that can die in this way? Um, but I didn't. Again, whenever I've taken B12, and about a year and a half ago, I decided to take it for 6 months to see if I noticed any difference in how I felt, my energy levels, and there was nothing. So I stopped taking it. It was kind of an experiment. Yeah. So I think some people possibly need to supplement and some people don't.
Yeah, I love that answer. I'm gonna send you a book that I recently discovered on B12. I'd love to know your opinion on it. Because B12 is so mysterious and like we don't know everything about it because like you said, we have people like Doug Graham and Eris
Yeah.
Latham and um many more. I can't think of the names, but those two come to mind when they don't supplement, they're not worried, they're not deficient. But then you have other people that swear they became deficient. I know people,
Mhm.
and but at the same time, they know they became deficient, and because they got a blood test, and the blood test confirmed, and then the placebo effect of taking the B12 works wonders. I mean,
Yeah. Mm.
it's
Well,
tough.
there was a book that was written in 1975, so what's that, 50 years ago, by a lady, an English lady called Sheila Andrews. And she wrote a book called No Cooking Fruitarian Cookbook. And in it, she describes a situation which is similar to mine. So, as a fruitarian, her B12 was on the normal range, but on the low side of normal, which the last time I had a B12 test, mine was in the normal range, but on the lower side. And so she and her daughter decided to supplement. And they supplemented for a period of time and they felt no different. So they stopped supplementing. And their theory was maybe fruitarians do have a lower B12 reading, but that's fine as long as there's no deficiency symptoms. So that was interesting. And I thought, yeah, that seems similar to me. I'm in normal range, but I'm on the lower side of normal, but I've never had any B12 deficiency symptoms. And if I did, then I would supplement. But she did like similar to me. I've supplemented, feel no difference, and then thought, what's the point? And stopped supplementing and feel fine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Now, when you first went vegan many years ago, did you supplement, or you did supplement when you were pregnant? Right.
Yeah.
That's the only
Yeah.
time. Were
Yes. Yeah.
you fruitarian when you were pregnant?
With my second pregnancy, I'd been fruitarian for 12 and a half years. And then with my first pregnancy, I was in transition. So I was eating a lot of fruit, and there'd be days when I'd just have fruit. And then there'd be other days when I have fruit all day and then just a cooked potato or cooked greens at night. But the days that I ate cooked food, I just didn't feel as good. My body odor changed if I ate cooked food 2 days or more in a row. And the taste in my mouth in the morning wasn't as nice. And so that transitional period for me was useful because I was ready to let go of the cooked food. It was the right time. I knew that I didn't feel as good when I had cooked food. So yeah, um, I but I supplemented, yeah, with both my pregnancies, even though with the second pregnancy I was fully fruitarian, and the first pregnancy I was in transition.
Yes, okay, I understand. And now, do you take a vitamin D supplement? What's your opinion on vitamin D supplements?
I think that if you can't get enough sun, you're better off with a spurty vitamin D lamp
Hmm.
because you get more things from it. It's not just the vitamin D. When I was living in England, I would, with my friends who were also fruitarian, we would go off and we would go to Southern Europe in the winter. And at the time, I was thinking maybe it's because the fruit's better. But then when I lived in a very sunny part of the UK, I got no cravings to go somewhere warmer. in the winter. And I think that was because it was the sunniest place in the UK. And I think the reason that I was craving going somewhere sunnier that had better fruit wasn't necessarily because of the fruit. It was more to get that vitamin D. Because when you're on a standard vegan cooked diet, a lot of foods are fortified with vitamin D. So margarine or soy milk or soy cheese often has D added. But when you're just eating fruit and no processed foods, you're not getting that added vitamin D. So I think you do need to get the sunshine, or if you can't, because you live in an area where there isn't a lot of sun, or it's, not at the right angle. Because where I live, the sun most of the year is at the right angle to actually produce vitamin D when you're exposed to it. So yeah, I think if you have to supplement, I it's better than being vitamin D deficient, but I would suggest the sun or a sun lamp is more optimal than supplements.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I would probably trust that more as well, because I mean, for me, and I'm really getting into researching these supplements and the ingredients, and it is so hard to find the true ingredients of these supplements, and so I am just done. I am done with the supplements because these companies won't tell me exactly what's in it. So
Yes.
if I don't know what's in it, like that mushroom, okay, I don't want it in my body. So now, people are asking, do you ever crave salt? Do you ever crave salt? And when is the last time you had salt?
Um, a long, long time ago, because I found that I had some sun-dried tomatoes and I've had
Hmm.
sun-dried like olives, but I've got salt in. They're raw, but got salt in. And I find now I'm quite sensitive to added sodium.
I bet.
When I was on a macrobiotic diet, that's quite high in sodium because you're having miso and you're having tamari. And I didn't notice any effects. But since stopping having added sodium, if I have it, I will get puffy under the eyes. My eyes will become hooded and look really different. And my ankles will get puffy. And I'll put on maybe a kilo in water weight. And to me, that's like, this is toxic. Don't take this. And I really do like olives. So what I do now is I get ripe olives from the supermarket when they're in season and I sun dry them. And they're very delicious. They're very umami, and they're more olivey because when you have olives with salt on, the salt predominates. But when you have sun-dried olives with no salt, you really get that olive flavor, and I really enjoy them. So yeah, I mean, I eat avocados and I find them quite savory and almost salty sometimes. And I think when you don't have added sodium, you'll notice the salt in tomatoes or avocados because your taste buds aren't numbed with added sodium. So yeah, I think for me, if I fancy something savory, I'll have an avocado. That usually does the trick. But yeah, I can go for months just having sweet fruit and I don't, crave salty things.
Yes. Do you ever eat nuts and seeds? And when is the last time you had nuts or seeds?
The last time I had nuts and seeds is probably about 9 months ago, when macadamia nuts were in season. So I have a macadamia tree in the garden, and it last year it didn't have many, but it had a few. The year before it had like 150 nuts. And when you pick nuts fresh when they're fallen, they're not as fatty. They're quite watery and they're more like coconut, like fresh coconut.
Oh.
And I do eat them from the garden, but otherwise I don't normally eat nuts. I find them hard to digest. I find them heavy. And I don't think there's so much a natural food because in the wild, it's hard to find nuts because if there are any fallen, the squirrels or the critters will get them before you do. And I think it would
Yes.
be hard to have a big meal of nuts in the wild. And when people buy a bag of nuts and they're all shelled and they're dried, and it's very easy to overeat them. For myself, if I want more fat, I will have avocados. I will sometimes have young coconut flesh or durian. And for me, I prefer that as a fat source than nuts and seeds. They don't really make me feel at my best, especially if I have a lot. Yeah.
Yes. And now people want to know, where do you eat any seaweed? Where do you get your iodine from if you don't?
Yes, so that's a good question. Now, I haven't eaten seaweed for many years, and then several people told me where I live, which is the Atherton Tablelands in far north Queensland, the soil is very iodine deficient because it's quite away from the sea and it's high up anyway. So I thought, I don't want to get iodine deficient. I've never noticed any symptoms of iodine deficiency. And recently I did buy some seaweed and some wakame seaweed, which I soaked and rinsed so it wasn't very salty. So that was a few months ago, and I thought I might do that every few months, just have some seaweed because, yeah, and because I'm eating stuff from the garden, and because I'm eating mostly locally grown fruit, and the soils that iodine deficient, I thought it makes sense to maybe have seaweed occasionally. So what I'm doing in my garden is I use seaweed extract and I feed the fruit trees with it. So hopefully they will take up the iodine from that, and the fruit that I'm growing will contain iodine. But yeah, in the short term, I'm taking seaweed every few months, just occasionally. Yeah.
Do you think, okay, so you're taking seaweed because the soil is deficient, and because
Yeah.
I mean, with all, respectfully,
Mm,
I think you think that fruit is our species specific food, right? And it has
mm.
everything we need. But what I
Yeah.
think you're saying is that it used to, and perhaps maybe the soil doesn't have certain nutrients anymore. Is that
Yeah, and
correct?
it's different areas. If you're closer to the
Mm,
sea, say you're in Hawaii, for example, the soil is high in iodine. In many other
okay.
areas in Australia, the soil is has useful levels of iodine in. But where I live, I've been told by about three or four people the soil is
Mm,
quite deficient in iodine. It's quite old soil as well in Australia. And I think when you grow fruit, you build up your soil. And it's very important to that. But it's a process.
yes.
I have
Yes.
neighbours that grow the most wonderful dragon fruit, and their garden is so lush, it's like a jungle. And they've been there for, I think, 13 years, and they're still building their soil up. They're
Wow.
still, every week, they go and get a whole load of organic matter to put in their soil. So, what I'm doing is using seaweed and I'm using compost. So, I compost all my fruit scraps. I have a 3 bin system, so you've always got compost. So, I put compost, also sometimes put mulch and organic matter around the trees, and that will build up the soil. And also, you have to have worms in the soil, you have to have fungi in the soil, and all that creates really healthy soil. So, I think potentially you can grow fruit in an area where the soil is iodine deficient. You build it up to be healthy, and then it would be great to test the soil to see what the iodine levels are and see if they've come up. And if I had high iodine levels in my soil, then I wouldn't feel a need to take seaweed occasionally.
Okay, I have a quick question for me, and then guys, I promise I'll get to all the questions because I see we have a lot of questions. And by the way, Anne, Darren said that he loves your voice. It's a very calming and just very lovely to listen to. So thank you, Anne, for having a beautiful voice. And okay, my quick question is, I just want to know what advice would you give to somebody like me who I do not believe in the blood test anymore. I don't believe in the numbers because how I'm
Mm,
just living a different lifestyle than the average American. So
yeah.
why would my numbers compare? So I don't believe in blood tests anymore, but I don't know if my fruit is grown. I eat supermarket fruit mostly. I don't know if it's grown in good soil. I don't know if it has iodine. I don't know if I'm getting enough of this or that. What is your advice to somebody like me who doesn't want to take a blood test?
I would say look at how your body's doing. Your hair looks
Mm,
great. So if you get hair loss, if your hair's getting thinner, that's often a symptom that you're not getting your micronutrients needs met. How do your wounds heal? Now, what I found since being fruitarian is
mm,
if I cut myself, it heals so quickly. It doesn't bleed very much.
mm.
It scabs over quickly, and it, just
Yes.
heals very well. Like we talked about before, do you bruise easily? How's your
Right.
skin?
Okay.
How are your teeth? How is your sort of like energy levels? And all those things, I think, ultimately are more important than numbers on a piece of paper. Because as you said, they're based results, if they're high, low, or in the middle, are based on people on a standard American or Australian or European diet. And how can they reflect? And also, what I've heard is because people are getting more unhealthy, the ranges in blood tests have changed in order so that less people are deficient in something because people are becoming more unhealthy. So I think the best thing you can do is always try and get the best quality produce you can and see how you're feeling. How's your body operating? How's it working? Do you feel tired? Does your skin look dull? And all these kinds of things. I don't think, I mean, I
Okay.
haven't had a blood test for many years now. I don't feel a need to have a blood test. The last time I asked for a blood test, I went to my doctor, and this was probably about 7 years ago, and said, I want a vitamin D test. And he looked at me because I had a suntan and said, no, there's no point. And and I thought, well, that's not necessarily the case because people can have suntans and still be vitamin D deficient.
Mm,
But a useful thing about vitamin D is it can take 2 days, up to 2 days, to when you get the sun on your skin for the chemical reactions to happen and for that vitamin D to be absorbed can take up to 2 days. So people who shower a lot or use soap all over their
mm.
body can remove the potential vitamin D before it gets absorbed in the body. And there was a guy that did research and he looked at hunter-gatherers in Africa who have dark skin. Now, the darker your skin, the less vitamin D you will absorb because
Yes.
generally dark skins come from warmer climates, so you don't need to absorb as much. Somebody from the Scandinavian regions who has very, very fair skin, that really pale Irish skin as well, will absorb more. So he did research. He looked at the hunter-gatherers in Africa who had very dark skin, so potentially they wouldn't absorb as much vitamin D. And he looked at surfers in Hawaii who had lighter skins, and they both got similar amount of vitamin D from the sun. But the African hunter-gatherers absorbed far more vitamin D. And the reason he believed was because the surfers were always washing themselves, always showering. So if you want to get optimal vitamin D levels, I mean, use soap on some parts of your body, the parts that need it, but don't shower too much. And so your arms or your legs that don't necessarily need soap on, don't soap them because you
Mm.
reduce your vitamin D from the sun the more you shower. It will wash off because it can take up to 48 hours to fully absorb from your sun exposure. So if you have a really good day at the beach and you think, I'm getting all this vitamin D,
Yes.
don't go home and have a shower. Wait till the
I
next day.
Yes, yes. Now, speaking of raw vegans that don't that stink, that don't wash the bits that need it, do you real quick, do you wear deodorant? And if so, what deodorant do you use?
I do sometimes. If I'm going out somewhere, I'm going to have to walk there and it's like hot. I
Yeah.
use Fussy, which is, I think it's a British deodorant. It's a
What is the
stick,
name?
Fussy, Fussy.
Mm.
And it actually contains, it's supposed to contain like some helpful microbes
This
that
is
help balance your um, microbiome kind of under your arms. But yeah, I use that. It's no nasty ingredients in, and it's like a stick that you turn at the bottom to wind it up. And yeah, it lasts a long time.
okay, okay. Thank you so much. All right, so now you guys have questions. Okay, what is your favorite durian? What is your favorite variety of durian?
I will have to say Musang King. I've tried
Oh,
many
yes.
varieties, but I always got to come back to Musang King. I think that is, and it's consistently good. I've found that sometimes you can buy Monfong and they can be good or they can be bad, but I don't think I've ever had a bad Musang King, and I've eaten many. So
Never. I've never had a
no,
bad
me
one.
neither. Yeah, yeah.
I just had some RI6 today because that's what I do for Thanksgiving. I do durian.
Mm, yeah.
And it wasn't the best. And I wished it was Musan King because I've never had a bad one. I had Musan King that tasted like vanilla frosting, like straight
Oh,
frosting,
wow.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay, next question is, what is your best advice, Anne, for people who have never been raw and how to start the next step? So people that want to go raw, where do they start? What is your best advice on starting?
For me, a transitional diet was very helpful because during that I learned what worked best for me. And for me personally, it was 100% raw. I didn't feel as good at 80%, 90%, 95%. So a transitional diet can sort of like limit the amount of elimination you're going through. It depends on what your diet and lifestyle is currently like. If you're on kind of a whole food plant-based diet, if you've not taken many recreational drugs in your life, if you've not taken many allopathic medications, you might not need such a long transition. But when you start to eliminate things that are stored in your fat cells, can be eliminated. So often a transitional diet is helpful. So maybe have fruit for breakfast, because fruit doesn't like to be eaten after other foods because it digests so quickly. So you don't want to have some cooked food, then have fruit, because the fruit will be wanting to get through and it'll be held up by the cooked food. So maybe have fruit for breakfast, maybe have your snacks as fruit, and then maybe have two fruit meals a day or two raw meals a day. Maybe have a fruit meal and a salad if you want to have more vegetables. And when you feel ready, try to have like your 3 meals a day or however many meals you have a day as raw. And if it's too much, you can always add some cooked food in. So Arnold Ehret and Essie Hannibal, who were both pioneers of the fruitarian diet, they both recommended transitional diets. Essie Hannibal was in a really bad state of health when she met her husband, who was a fruitarian, and she had to go straight on a fruit diet because she probably would have died otherwise. But
What
she
is
said
this woman? Wait, Essie?
Essie Hannibal. So
I
E
never heard of her.
EssieHonnibal, I think, Hannibal.
Oh,
And
thank
she
you.
wrote a book, I Live on Fruit. And in it, she said, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do, going straight from a regular diet to a fruitarian diet. So she recommended a transitional period as being easier. And Arnold Ehret, who was also a pioneer of the diet, he also recommended a transitional diet because he found it was easier for people and they were more likely to succeed. I've known people that have gone straight onto a fruit diet, but it really depends on your current state of health and what your past health history has been like. If you have a lot of stored toxins in your body, when you eat more fruit, you will start to lose weight and you'll start to release fat from the body, and also the toxins that are stored with the fat. So I think a transitional diet, and tailor it for yourself. Everybody is different. Everybody's at a different level of health. And so just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean that's right for you. Just go at your own pace and do what's best for you. And if you need to add more cooked food in because you're getting too much elimination, do so. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I totally agree. Um, uh, I think this might be the last question, maybe, but so no, okay, two more. How often do you eat high fat fruits? Well, do you eat avocado every day? Do you eat durian every day? Well, probably not
I don't
durian.
eat I don't eat avocado every day. I certainly don't eat durian every day. But,
I
but
wish.
when Australian durian is in season, which will be possibly later this month, then I might eat more. I might eat it several days in a row. Avocados, I can go for like months and not eat them. I can go for other periods where I have them every day for a while. Um, at the moment, I might have them, a few times a week. I've eaten more avocados since I've moved to Australia, just because they're so good here and they grow so well. And
Oh.
I've put in quite a few avocado trees in the garden, and we've got some baby ones on, so they might be ready later. I also find avocados useful because they're dense in nutrition. If I'm busy, I can eat two avocados and it'll keep me going for a long period of time. But there's times when I don't really feel like the denser, fattier fruits. And so I can go for quite, a couple of months or more not eating them. But yeah, I do eat more since I've moved to Australia because the local avocados are great, really good.
Okay, now everybody has a million questions. Guys, we have to let Anne go. Okay, Anne has a big day ahead. She's probably working in the garden, right? She's got to do the manual the lawnmower. Okay, listen. Okay, here we go. So many questions now. Okay, what is Anne's opinion about enemas or colonics? Do you do colonics?
I don't do, I've never had a colonic. I've never had
Never.
an enema. No. Um,
Oh.
it's for me, I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I know if people have a lot of colonics, it can compromise their digestive system. I also think, yes, colonics and enemas get out stuff you might not want in there, but they can take out good bacteria. And I think they can possibly upset the balance of your microbiome. I personally think the best way to get a better microbiome is maybe doing a short fast, a 2 day fast, and then eating more fruit and cutting out processed food. And I think for me, that is a gentler way than a colonic or an enema. It's not something that I've ever been attracted to do. I know some people say they work really well, but for me, it's my diet and lifestyle that I need to, have in a place that's good, to ensure that I have a good digestive system.
Okay, last question, I promise, Anne. Thank you so much for your time. Everyone, please give this a like. And if somebody wanted to get your book, Path to Paradise, how could they purchase that? Is that for sales anywhere?
No, it's not for sale at the moment because I used to have a really good green printer who used, organic inks and recycled paper, and they went out of business. So I haven't found another printer. So it's not in print. If I can find a good printer that meets all my requirements so that my book isn't having a negative effect on the environment, I will publish it again. But I do have a free PDF copy. So if anybody wants to email me, and my email address is Anne, and that's ANNE at yahoo.com, then I will send you a free PDF copy of my book.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. There you go. Happy Fruitsgiving. Okay, so, oh my gosh, thank you, Anne, for that. And the last question is going to be, they're trying to get you in trouble with this one. So, okay, the question is, would Anne ever consider adding sugar to her diet? Okay, the reason they're asking this, I don't think you're on social media too much, but I don't know if you know that there is a person in the raw food community who is adding white sugar to their diet. Do you know about this? Okay.
Yeah, yes, I do. And
What are your thoughts? Would you ever do this?
no, I wouldn't, because before I was even raw, when
Yeah.
I was just vegan, I think, I read a book called Sugar Blues by
Uh,
William Dufty. And wow, he was saying how bad sugar was, and it really made sense to me. And I thought, I was trying to eat a fairly healthy diet, but I was in a house share because I was at university at the time and I had sugar. And so I thought, I'm never going to buy sugar again. I'm going to use all the sugar up. So I made all these biscuits with sugar. And me and my housemate ate them, and it was like, oh, we were so stuffed afterwards, and so like definitely no sugar ever again. And yeah, and I've read other books about sugar and how harmful it is. And I think that it's very processed. I knew somebody that was working in a sugar mill because we have sugar mills
mm,
in Australia, go sugar cane. And I went in the sugar mill, and it was like a big laboratory. And I thought, nothing that comes out of here is a health food. It's so processed. And I think when you're eating good quality fruit, you're getting enough sugar in your diet. And it's like a natural sugar. It's connected to fiber, it's connected to phytonutrients, and it has a very different effect. And I think there was a Dr. Gregor video where he showed when somebody had a really sugary cereal, so it had a lot of added sugar in, when fruit was added, so there would be more total sugar, but that extra sugar would be from the fruit. The effect on the insulin spikes and the fat released into the blood was much less. Even
mm,
though the total sugar was higher when they added fruit. So maybe if someone's eating a lot of fruit as well, the effect of processed sugar won't be as bad. But I think for me, it's something that I would not put in my body. I have not had sugar for 39 years. Yeah. So
wow.
no, I think my diet's full of beautiful sugar from fruit. And
Yeah.
why would I compromise that with something you go in? if you're thinking about this, go into a sugar refinery and take a look round. It's quite scary, actually. Yeah.
You see, and this is why really I'm against supplements now because I
Mm,
think the same thing. Where these supplements are made, it's a laboratory and it's scary
mm,
stuff. So
mm.
that's why I've been interviewing a lot of people on supplements that don't take them. And I don't know. I just feel like in the laboratory, in a chemical, in a factory, nothing good comes out of that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for saying that about sugar because I didn't actually think about that. Yeah, it's made in a factory. It's totally a science experiment, and just because we can eat it, I'm sure
And
you have
it's,
heard.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, sort of like um people eat the coca leaves, don't they? They eat the coca leaves in South America to give them energy. Now nobody gets addicted to the coca leaves, but when they make cocaine, people get addicted. And I think it's a similar thing with refined sugar. I think there is an addiction in there to that sugar hit. And when we have fruit, we don't get that sugar hit. We get a slower release of sugar and it's more balanced. So yeah, I think there is, it's not the same as drugs, obviously, but there is, I think, an addictive property to anything that's so refined. You look at sugar and you look at cocaine, they both look very refined, but you look at a coca leaf or a beautiful melon and they're natural. So I think always go for the natural if you can. If you've got access to good quality fruit, you shouldn't, in my opinion, have any need for refined sugar.
You mentioned cocaine. Doesn't it light up the same parts of the brain as white sugar, processed sugar?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
yeah, I think it has a similar like effect. And that's why I think people that eat refined sugar keep eating refined sugar. And also, I think their taste buds change. So they need that really sweet hit. And if they have a beautiful piece of fruit that most people would think, that's so sweet, that's so delicious, they think, no, it's not sweet enough. I've got to add sugar to it because that's what they eat.
Right.
It's like salt.
I was just
If
gonna say, just like the salt.
yeah, if people always add salt to their meals, they will want salt on their meals. And if someone cooks them a beautiful meal full of lovely vegetables with no added
Yeah.
sodium, they will, oh, it's bland, it's tasteless because they're used to that high salt. And I think the high sugar thing as well. Yeah.
Your taste buds change over time,
Oh,
no matter what you
yes.
do, good or
Yeah.
bad. Oh,
Yeah.
great point. Because I had persimmons yesterday. I mean, this is like the sweetest. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so much, Anne. You're so
Thank you.
lovely. I learned so much from you. I'm so grateful to you. And everyone, please take advantage and get Anne's book. It is so amazing, and I know you'll learn a lot. And Anne, thank you so much for just being you, taking the time out to speak to everyone today. And let's do this again soon. And have a beautiful, beautiful day, Anne. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
You're
It's been a
amazing.
pleasure. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Oh, join me at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a Fruitsgiving Zoom. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Bye, Anne. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.